policy advisor for the Queensland Farmers Federation, Georgina Davis, has been putting her members' position to both levels of government over a period of time. But she, like many farmers, feel that the time now for talk is over.
We absolutely welcome the findings in the report, and Malcolm Turnbull reiterated many of those findings, in particular about the fact that the high prices and high bills now have placed enormous strain on small businesses and business viability, and that the future of electricity prices is currently just unacceptable and unsustainable. So we welcomed his comments on his pledge to lower electricity prices.
Sure, but that's nothing new. Those arguments have been played out, and the ACCC's language in the past in its draft report has been very blunt on that there is action that is needed both federally and at a state level to drive down those prices.
Look, absolutely. I think farmers are getting a little bit tired of inquiries, reports and statements telling us that the prices are too high and they need to be lowered. We know that. So what we want now is to see immediate action and not sort of incremental or small piecemeal reductions in bills over a long period of time. We need to see a significant drop in bills now. This has to be immediate.
So the Prime Minister, he has really seized on one of the ACCC's key recommendations, which is that the federal government, taxpayers, should underwrite the cost of new dispensable electricity generation. What does that actually mean for farmers that are struggling to pay their power bills right now?
Look, we think that's a step in the right direction, but that relief from that sort of policy is not going to come quick enough. What we would like to see here in Queensland is the acknowledgement by the state government that there has been a significant overinvestment in their state-owned networks, and that was one of the critical findings in the ACCC. And we would like the government to immediately write down their regulated asset base. So to give you an idea, revenues for network businesses are actually largely derived from the network services that are regulated by the Australian Energy Regulator. Queensland is just in the process at the moment of developing the next price path for that process. So if we do not see some immediate action to write down that RAB and then really cap the revenue that those businesses can recover in that price period from 2020 to 2025, we're going to really be struggling here in Queensland for the next 5 years.
Georgina Davis, what is the Queensland government's attitude to that? Because it seems like a no-brainer. They're already being politically lambasted for what we now know has been an overinvestment in the distribution network for the previous reporting period. So are they going to stand by and allow that to continue for the next 5 years?
Look, we certainly hope not. And I mean, the ACCC has really shed a light on this, but as you said, it's nothing new. The Gatton Institute, even last year, they had a report down to the wire, and one of the things they found was that overinvestment in Queensland in their network distribution was excessive and was actually increasing customers' bills up to $400 a year more than they should be.
And yet the Queensland government is emphatically denying that it's allowing the system to be gouged, as Rod Sims from the ACCC has alluded to in his report.
Look, there is credible proof now. I would be very disappointed if the Queensland government, and indeed the federal government, did not immediately act on many of the ACCC's recommendations. There's 56 recommendations in that report. Some will provide us with a direct price relief, which will happen in a timely manner, and some of those other recommendations, as I said, really are more long-term measures.
And what about the fact that the clock is ticking for irrigators and farmers who are currently getting by on those transitional tariff arrangements, but that's going to expire in 2020? What then?
Look, we are very concerned what will happen in 2020. So there's not just irrigators, but a range of small businesses and large businesses here in Queensland are on what we call transitional and obsolete tariffs. When those tariffs expire in 2020, we will be pushed and forced onto demand tariffs. They do not suit the agricultural sector because we have very little control about how and when we use electricity in many cases. Farmers are already taking action into their own hands. We're seeing a lot of farmers now install solar and diesel, and many of them are actually looking for opportunities now to leave the grid, which is sad given we have a perfect functioning grid that is safe, that's reliable, but it's not affordable.
And Georgina Davis, just on your point about agricultural users of electricity not necessarily having flexibility about when they do flick the switch, the other thing is that when they are flicking the switch, it tends to be in non-peak periods. So surely that's something that should be encouraged and rewarded rather than the opposite.
It depends very much on the type of crop and the weather, and obviously Queensland, we're still in drought. We still have 55% of the state that's drought declared. So our farmers have to just water their crops or refrigerate their produce to keep it in tip-top condition. Sometimes that's off-peak, sometimes that's during the most expensive part of the day. So we would like to see more focus, certainly from the Queensland Government, in helping us develop a suite of suitable tariffs for the agricultural sector to start in the next regulatory price path, which commences in 2020.
And to be clear, that has not yet commenced. You don't have a clear commitment on that?
We don't. We are working with Energy Queensland, but yet we have nothing in writing. And at the moment, because so many farmers do not know how and when they're using electricity necessarily because they're on old style meters, it's making that process of designing a suitable suite of tariffs very difficult because we lack that basic data.
The Queensland Government went to this last state election promising not to privatise the electricity network. They've said that that gives them more ability to control these nuances in the electricity market. Has there been any demonstrable benefit from that policy?
Certainly not yet. We would say that they are in a position to take direct action. And we saw that certainly with the generators who were rebidding the system. The Queensland Government acted immediately to tell them to cease that activity, and they did. We would like to see the Queensland Government, as I said, immediately write down the regulated asset base. That would make an immediate relief for electricity prices here in Queensland. But on the flip side of that, the regional Queensland areas, we actually only still have one retailer, which is government-owned. And this was something else that came up in the ACCC report, that lack of competition may not be in the favour of consumers, electricity consumers in regional Queensland.
And just finally, Georgina Davis, as much as the federal government wants to and continues to deflect on electricity prices as a state issue, what more do you want to see from the federal government?
Look, we absolutely support having a single policy for electricity or energy going forward. We do need that. But as I said, we really need people now to take responsibility. In the past, we've been told, oh, that's not our issue, it's the Australian Energy Regulator's issue, or it's a state issue, or it's the AEMC, or it's a federal issue. We actually just need to see now somebody take responsibility for enacting these recommendations in the ACCC's report.
No more reports, no more inquiries. Georgina Davis from the Queensland Farmers Federation. I think that is a message that every farmer and irrigator in Queensland could agree on. Thanks very much for giving us some more insights on this very complicated and torturous path of electricity prices.
Thank you very much.